Vox and King Beau, Part 13, Vox and the Seekers. I'm back. As promised, I've been writing down the stories so that things will move a little faster. I spent most of today sleeping, to be honest. After the thread, I passed out. The night was so quiet, and it's freezing and rainy here in my little corner of the world. Perfect sleeping weather normally. I slipped in and out of dreams. Some of them were memories. Some of them were nonsense. Many of them were about Beau. In one, I was falling. I can't say exactly that this has consumed my days now, but it all weighs heavily on my mind. My head is killing me. This headache comes and goes, but when it's around, it's terrible. There's a ringing in my ears. I've actually come to enjoy the bizarre blanket of silence that occasionally descends. It only happened once today, but it was wonderful. Sorry, I'm not trying to complain. I just want everyone to know the facts, and to thank everyone for staying with me through this. If it weren't for these writing sessions, I think I would have given up or committed myself or something. I just can't help but feel like there's something to these stories, and if I let them dope me up now, it'll never get found. I know I said I'd do Beau and the Child Snatchers, but I think it needs to be prefaced. This is Vox and the Seekers. I have to be honest. Before all this started, I never really looked back onto my time with Beau. It was just another part of my childhood, which is something I think even less about day to day. I think someone asked me last night if I could give a little more insight into my life. There was nothing strange about my upbringing. My father left before I was born. He didn't know that my mom was pregnant at the time. But the divorce was civil, and I saw my dad every other weekend and on vacations in the summer. He's a good man, and my mom's a good woman. They just weren't right for each other. But they never stopped loving me and my brother. Otherwise, we were a middle-class family in middle America. Now that I've taken the time to write things down and really examine those years, I can see myself grow and change. The games Beau and I played had an effect on me, whether or not they were real. Maybe I was turning into a real, thinking human being, rather than a feral little monster most kids are. Maybe Beau was really teaching me something. Regardless, I don't think I've talked about the other games we would play and the ways that Beau changed the world around me. Beau loved hide and seek. He loved to prove he could hunt me down, and he adored showing how he could find me no matter where I hid. Mom always wondered why it surprised me every time Beau found me. He was a product of my mind, after all. Still, I loved playing with Beau, and seeing him happy made me happy. He was my friend. My dangerous, voice-stealing, vain, obnoxious, murderous friend. One day I asked Beau why he liked playing hide-and-seek so much. He said,
"Don't you? Your kind is always playing this game."
I asked him what he meant. My people didn't hide from each other all the time. Just when we were in danger, or when we were playing with each other, or when we didn't want to be found. He smiled and leaned in close to whisper into my ear. Looking back, I remember that I found it strange. His lips and mouth never moved when he spoke. He let his teeth part and allowed the voice to spill from him, simply working his neck to get it along.
"You see, little Jeep, this is why you always lose our games. You do not understand how to play. Your kind is very good at hiding, but being a seeker is so much more fun. There are many things that want to find you. We should play a round of hide and seek now. You hide first."
Though young and impressionate, I was skeptical. "I think you just want an excuse to play," I said.
"Keep your senses clear,"
he instructed.
"See who finds you first."
I wasn't sure quite how to take that, but he turned his face to the corner and began to count. The shadows pooled around him as he bowed his pale head, wrapping his inhuman fingers around it, just to prove he wasn't peeking. Realizing that this was the end of the conversation, and any more arguments were just going to result in me losing that much faster. So I ran. On this particular day, we were playing inside the house as it was raining outside. This greatly limited my hiding place selections. My grandmother, who was supposed to be looking after me, was napping in the living room, and I knew that obvious choices like closets or cabinets would be the first place Beau would search. So instead, I decided to hide in plain sight. I chose the guest bathroom. Part of the trick to evading Beau was to confuse him. I knew that he would follow trails until they ended, no matter where or why, so I took full advantage of this compulsion. I closed a cabinet door as I went, in case he might hear the sound. I left a lump of laundry on my floor, just big enough to hide in, and cracked my brother's closed door open just enough to see through. This misdirection would waste his time and hopefully frustrate him, and that might give me a chance to change hiding places if I needed to. The guest bathroom was almost never used, and always stocked with our nice holiday towels and tiny soaps that smelled like vanilla. I crept inside and closed the door behind me before slipping into the tub and draping the shower curtain to hide me. The only light came from a little outlet lamp shaped like a seashell. I'm not even sure why we kept it in there. Pressed to the cold tub and curled up as much as I could, I closed my eyes, tried to make my breathing slow and silent as possible, and strained to hear Beau searching. Now obviously, the king, hunter, warrior of the quiet place, and so on, wasn't going to slip up and allow a 5-year-old to catch on to him. But I got the impression that he was having as much fun going through the motions as he did winning these games. Directly above my head, I swore I heard a series of drawers open and close quickly. Beau was letting me know that the game had begun. I tried to hear more over the sound of my own heart beating, but it wasn't long before I heard a tap-tap-tapping at the bathroom door. The knob rattled slightly, floorboards creaked as someone shifted weight on them. In my mind's eye, I could see all of this happening. Now this confused me. Beau never needed to open doors. The only time he ever bothered while we were playing was strictly for theatrics. Someone slipped inside the bathroom, and it occurred to me that whatever this was, it wasn't Beau. The more I strained my ears, the more I picked up on something. Ragged, alien breathing. As much as it terrified me, I forced myself to open my eyes. Staring up at the ceiling above the shower, I didn't dare move, but to get a better view of the rest of the bathroom. However, the light from the seashell shifted and cast shadow even with its dim light.
Vox, honey, did I see you come in here?
The voice belonged to my grandmother. Fearing punishment, I almost answered, but Beau's words caught the call in my throat.
Sweetie?
The being shifted over the tile with the same shuffling gait my grandmother had. The shadow might have been the same size. Still, I found myself troubled by the possibility that something terrible might be playing with my heartstrings in an effort to draw me out. Either that, or this might have been a new trick Beau was showing off. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of fooling me.
Oh, I see. Are you playing a game with your little friend, Bob? Come out. Come out wherever you are. Bob is here and he wants to see you.
Well, that solidly ruled out Beau. His vanity would never have allowed him to mess up his own name. In his mind, everyone in the world should have known it. Instead, in the kitchen, my heightened hearing caught a cabinet closing. If Beau was still hunting for me, that meant it was just me and the being with my grandmother's voice. Suddenly, I felt like Little Red Riding Hood. I had always hated that story. The being paused, probably hearing the cabinet as well. It shuffled closer to the tub, and I heard something in my ear. It was like a very, very low pitch, not strong enough to be rumbling, but not quiet enough to be my mind playing tricks. For some reason, the sound made my stomach coil into knots, and my heart flutter, as though it were trying to fly free of my chest. I know it's corny to say, but I could see the old Bugs Bunny cartoon in my head. The one with the obnoxious Red Riding Hood and the cross-dressing wolf.
Vox, this isn't funny. I'll count to 3, and if you aren't out here by then, we'll have to talk to your mother when she gets home.
I did not want this thing anywhere near my mother.
1.
I held my breath and watched as the light of the shell disappeared near the shower.
2.
The suspense and droning were starting to drive me crazy. I'm not ashamed to say that a few tears rolled down my cheeks. I was a little girl. I was used to the monster letting me sing to him, not impersonating my grandma and threatening my mother. I wanted to scream or jump up and run, but there was no escape.
3.
The shower curtain above me began to press inward. A face took shape among the floral pattern. It had no really unique features. It could have been my grandmother, but then it could have also been my dad for all I knew. The droning never increased in volume, not even while the thing was right above me. It continued to stare straight ahead, and while the face didn't move, the voice echoed inside the tub.
Now where is that naughty girl?
I couldn't take it any longer. A choking sniffle escaped my lips. The thing froze, and I was completely sure that I was done for. I had no idea what was going to happen to me, but I knew it wasn't going to be nice. I had heard enough Beau stories at that point to be certain that these things didn't usually play games and sing. However, the droning stopped. The face yanked itself out of the curtain, and the being paused only for a second before what sounded like shuffling footsteps played on fast forward, went skittering out the way they had come. What replaced the drone was a thick, comforting silence. I waited for what seemed like another lifetime before peeking my head over the edge of the tub. There was a figure there, but I thought I knew its tall, cloaked form. "Beau?" I sniffled. I remembered my lips trembling. I pulled back the curtain to reveal his pale face, gracefully bent down and staring into mine. He shone slightly in the darkness, and he tilted his head at the sight of me.
I see. I did not win,
he said. Beau was a bastard, even back then. I knew he'd waited around and let the grandma thing scare me. I didn't say anything in response, only twisted my face up. He saw that I was onto his tricks and grinned wider.
Don't you see the rules of the game yet?
He asked.
There are always seekers hunting you down, Vox. They can only catch you if you allow yourself to be caught.
I nearly jumped out of my skin when my grandmother's voice echoed from the kitchen. She was calling me for snack time. "Is that really her?" I asked. Beau gave me an unnatural shrug composed of too many joints. I puffed up my chest and gathered my courage, charged past Beau and out of the bathroom. In the kitchen was my real grandmother with snacks. I hugged her waist as tight as I could, and when she asked me why I was crying, I told her that I stubbed my toe. I admit, I was surprised and not very happy when after snacks and getting bored of Grandma's daytime TV, Beau called to me from my room, waiting to finish her game.
The rain has stopped,
Beau insisted.
You can seek. If we leave the game unfinished, we break the rules.
I argued that the house was a better alternative, and Beau threatened to leave me with the grandmother thing again. He knew where to find it, he told me. It could just come in here and finish what business it had. I countered with no more songs for a week. He won by offering to steal my voice and have all the songs he ever needed for forever. I lost. To the corner I went. I angrily counted to 10. When time was up, I turned around and somehow knew Beau was not in the house. We had spent too much time inside, and even for Beau, the outdoors were too tempting. I called to my grandmother that I was going out to the backyard and trotted out into the garden. The house that we lived at was the same one that my parents had stayed in together. My father's old tool shed still sat in the corner of the yard, mostly abandoned. I was forbidden to play inside of it. He had never come back for most of his tools, and there were all kinds of pesticides leaking away in there. Usually it was closed and locked, but the door stood just open a crack. I wondered why Beau would be trying to get me into trouble, but I ventured inside anyway. "Beau," I whispered as I poked my head in, "we're not supposed to be in here. We'll get in trouble." I scanned the room, trying to look past the old lawnmower, workbench, Christmas lights, and all the other trappings of a normal suburban family. In the far back of the little shed, behind a plastic Santa and an old trash can, I saw a shadowy lump that didn't belong. I felt a surge of triumph and stepped inside, opening the door a little more to cast some light into the room. This light is what caught the glint from the old saw hanging on the wall. The saws would cause me to back out of the shed and close the door behind me. In the warped metal of the saw, I noticed a reflection. The face, even distorted as it was, did not belong to Beau. I saw wide dark eyes and a gaping mouth, not filled with sharp teeth, but rather a hungry void. It moved slightly as the thing shifted, though I don't think it ever caught my eye. Either way, I wasn't going to go checking it out. What I saw might have been the reflection of more decorations. Just like the grandmother thing might have been my overactive imagination. But like Beau said, they could only catch me if I let them. "Beau!" I called in the yard. "I'm not playing anymore." I heard his voice float from behind a tree.
I have killed for less.
He pouted.
But you would never have found me anyway.
I don't mean to give the impression that I'm taking the ball and going home, because that's not what's happening here. I'm just regrouping. I guess I sort of feel like a guest on here, because I'm the one asking for help, and no one has to listen to my rambling childhood stories, or, descent into schizophrenia. The least I can do is try my best. And I don't really remember where I was going with this, which is just scary. So I guess that's that. I just need to go lie down a little while. I'll be back later on.